Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast.
Vamos, Argentina todavía, viene Leo. Va Messi, buena pelota, va para Alexis, se filtró, pedían penal, cuidado. ¡Gol! ¡Gol!
You know how sometimes they say it's an honor just to be nominated? You could say that losing to a team led by Lionel Messi is kind of like that. It's a huge victory for Canada to even be on the field at the Copa America, and they made a respectable showing with a 2-0 loss to Argentina in the opening match of this tournament, Canada's first ever appearance at the world's oldest international soccer tournament. For more on what that means and what to watch over the next couple of weeks, we're joined by Canadian soccer journalist John Molinaro, who's with me in studio now. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
This is a tough matchup for Canada's first ever game at a Copa America. You go up against the world champions. You go up against Lionel Messi. How did the game go down in your eyes? They lost 2-0, Canada did, but it wasn't, I think they did better than perhaps the score might suggest.
Yeah, they played really well. For 90 minutes, they really went toe-to-toe with Argentina, rode their luck at times and got a fantastic effort from Canadian goalkeeper Maxime Crepeau, who stopped Lionel Messi, I think, 2 or 3 times, which I'm sure was a world like a highlight for him. Stopped Angel Di Maria on a breakaway in the 9th minute, which, was, I thought, for sure Argentina was going to score there. But they also, asked questions of the Argentinians. Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, Tejan Buchanan, they all had really good looks on goal. And Stefan Eustáquio probably should have put Canada up 1-0 at the end of the first half. He should have buried a chance on a clear header. But no, they weren't overawed. You have to remember, these are the defending World Cup champions. They'd only lost twice in their previous 58 games over the last 5 years. So
in another era, this could have ended like a football score or a cricket score.
Right.
Like Canada could have been thrashed.
Very much so. They've only met once before in 2010, and that was a thrashing. That was 5-0 for Argentina in Buenos Aires. And going into this, I kind of thought it was going to go that way just because, Argentina's at the height of their powers. They've got such a, glittering star array of talent that I thought this is going to get ugly. But Canada performed really, really well. And I think, you don't get moral points you don't get points for moral victories, but certainly a moral victory for Canada.
How important is the Copa America, and how did Canada end up in this for the first time?
Yeah, it's huge. It's, this is the South American Championship. So I would argue that, behind only the World Cup and the Euros going on right now, this is probably the 3rd most important international soccer tournament on the men's side. And it's the oldest tournament as well. So it's pretty prestigious. Canada qualified because the tournament is being held in the United States. So normally it would be only open for South American teams. But because the United States is hosting it, they opened the door to 6 CONCACAF teams, 6 teams from North America to compete. Canada had to qualify. They ended up losing to Jamaica in a 2-game playoff, which forced them then to play against Trinidad, and they ended up beating Trinidad and Texas to qualify. So it's a big deal. Playing in a tournament of this caliber and of this prestige, it's a huge honor for Canada, and it's really important, especially with the 2026 World Cup coming up. It's really important that they play what I call top-tier teams on a regular basis, right? It's not simply good enough for them to play teams in their own region. In the CONCACAF region, they have to go up against the likes of Argentina and Chile and Peru. So I think this is great preparation for the 2026.
You've been speaking with members of the team. How do they feel about their chances? How do they? Just being there is nice, but you don't want to just show up.
No, they feel good. There's this sort of, I wouldn't say cockiness, but certainly confidence going into this tournament. I spoke to Toronto FC captain Jonathan Osorio last week, the longest serving member of this Canadian team, and he talked about, it's not good enough just to go out and show up, and it's not good enough just about, putting in a performance. It's about results. And I think they played the Netherlands and France earlier this month in a pair of friendlies, and they acquitted themselves quite well, even though they didn't win either game.
Drew with France,
number 2 in the world. So, and from what Jonathan said, that those sort of results kind of gave them, the feeling of, we can go there and we can sort of play with a great deal of fearlessness and sort of, hold our heads high against some of the top teams in the world. And it certainly showed yesterday.
Is that a change for the men's team? The storyline in this country forever, it seems like, has been that the men's team has long been outclassed by the success of the women's team. Are the men pulling things together, kind of showing, there's a lot of talent, generational talent right now. And is something happening with that talent?
Yeah, I think so. The confidence has kind of been there in the last couple of years. I think, qualifying for the World Cup certainly helped. But yeah, you're quite right. I mean, there is this, I hate to use the term golden generation, but there is this sort of collection of talent who are playing at the very highest level of European club football, whether it's Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Stefan Eustáquio, Kyle Larin. They're all playing for top teams in Europe. And I think that's only going to sort of improve. You're going to see more Canadians making the move to top teams. So it seems to this sort of, as I said, this golden time for Canadian soccer on the men's side, who are finally getting their act together.
Are they going to be able to get out of the first round of this competition?
Tough, Matt. It's really tough. I mean, they have to play Peru next, which is a winnable game because Peru I would suggest, one of the weaker teams from South America in this competition. But then they have to sort of end things against Chile, who are a very veteran, experienced team and who have won this competition several times. So you'd have to think they're going to have to take 4 points from those two games, and that's going to be really tough.
Is Argentina the class of this tournament? I mean, it's just beginning, so. But are they the ones that people would pin as the team to watch?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, as I said, they've only lost twice in the last 5 years. They're the defending Copa America champions. They have Lionel Messi, but it's not just a one-man team. I mean, they've got such an amazing side when you think of the array of talent they have. But I think they're the favorites. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brazil, a traditional soccer power, comes through, because they're relying on some pretty impressive players, whether it's Vinicius Jr. or Rodrigo of Real Madrid. And I think for my dark horse pick is actually Colombia, because they've actually, defeated Brazil in World Cup qualifying lately, and they just seem to be a country on the rise. So I think it's probably going to be one of those three teams.
We were saying just before you came in, just finally, that this is a great time. If you are a soccer fan or you like the excitement, maybe you don't care about the game, but you like the excitement of going into a place and watching it with a bunch of people who are just rabid, this is a wild time right now.
It's crazy. I mean, you've got sort of the Copa America and the European Championships going on at the same time. Both of the finals are going to be on July 14th. So that's fantastic. I mean, it's this sort of smorgasbord of football that, you can see the top players in the world competing against each other. And then we'll get a small break, and then we see, the Canadian women, go for gold and try to reach the medal podium for a fourth straight time in Paris. So it's a wonderful feast of football this summer. So really enjoying it.
We will see you on the couch. Presumably That's where you will be, in front of the big screen. John, thank you.
You're welcome, man.
John Molinaro is a Canadian soccer journalist.